Jnana, Bhakti, and finally Prapatti. It's about loving God and surrendering to God. And because he was a great Pandit, a great Acharya, he wanted also to show that this is the best way of understanding the Veda, the Upanishad, the Gita. Not simply one way, but that although other great Acharyas, like Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, and others, would have their own way of reading the text, that the full meaning is brought out in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And I think he tried to show that, not simply as a feeling, but as intellectual work of reading the text. Now we could stop there and say that's enough for Sri Ramanuja, but I think it's also important that he wrote other works as well. And you know that there are the Gadyas, the Sharanagati Gadya, the Sri Ranga Gadya, and the Sri Vaikunta Gadya, which are so important because they show that the person of intellect and the person of true understanding is also the person of devotion. Sometimes people say that if you pray, you can't think, or if you think, you can't pray, or that people who have too much education become skeptical and can no longer believe. But I think Sri Ramanuja shows us that in fact, there is a coming together of being an intellectual person, a person of knowledge, a person of faith, a person of devotion, and that the people who know the tradition well are the people who love great devotion and want to surrender themselves to the Lord. So if you read a text, as I'm sure you all have, like the Sharanagati Gadyams, the first part is this simple prayer of adoration, of worship, with all the names of God, as in Vishnu Sahasranama, all the names, all the glories of the Lord, with Sri Lakshmi, finally leading to the Dvaya Mantra, in the act of Prapatti. And then the latter part is simply the Lord responding, and saying to the devotee, the Prapanna, I accept your surrender, I promise you safety, I promise you refuge, shall be taken care of. And so too in the Sri Ranga Gadya, the Sri Vaikunta Gadya, in the holy place on earth, the Divya Desha, but also in Sri Vaikunta, the same act of love, surrender, faith, and trust takes place. And finally there is the work that I have been reading myself lately, the Nitya Grantham, which is a work mostly neglected by Western scholars. It's never been translated into English, only into French, I think. And the Nitya Grantham is a beautiful text because it shows the daily worship, the aradhana of the devotee. If you are a person who is totally loving the Lord, Paramaikanti, if you are totally given over to the Lord, how do you begin your day? And clearly for Sri Ramanuja, the example is nothing else is at the center of your life. No one else matters to you more than the Lord. And therefore the prayers, the ablutions, the drinking, the sipping, the washing, the singing, the recitation, constantly the Tirtha mantra over and over again before the feet of the Lord. And he's asking that those devotees who have the time, the energy, the devotion, do this every day. And I'll conclude by saying that he deliberately, I think, uses the Tirtha mantra, what he calls the Mula mantra in the Nityam, because this, as you know better than I, was so sacred for his life. That in his own experience, when after 18 times going to his teacher, he was finally given the Tirtha mantra, the teacher cautioned him, don't give this to everybody. Keep it sacred, keep it pure. The people are not ready for it. You might even lose your own soul if you give it to other people. But Sri Ramanuja knew that the truth that the Lord gives, the devotion that the Lord gives, and the sacred words of the Tirtha mantra are not something to put in your pocket and keep for yourself, but it is something for everybody in the community. And so as you know, he went up in the temple and he shouted out the mantra so that all the people could hear. So I think 1,000 years later, this is a beautiful example. To be intelligent, to be a scholar, to study the scriptures, to know the Sanskrit, to know the Purva Pakshas and respond to them, to read the Gita, to to make your act of prabhati, to do your daily nitya puja every day, and to realize this is given to the community as a sacred trust, but the community then has to share it with everybody in the world. And I think the best way to honor Sri Ramanuja in 2017 is to follow the example of Swamiji and say, the community needs to go deeper and deeper into the truth that Sri Ramanuja taught, and then in every country of the world, to share it more and more with all people. So I very much congratulate Swamiji and all of you for the wonderful work you are doing, and it's an honor for me to say these words at this time of the celebration of Sri Ramanuja.
Thank you very much, Professor Francisco. It's a great honor for you to come in the presence of us and enlighten us with some more. I would now request our Puja Sri Swamiji to please come on the dais. Raghuji, could you please escort him? So this is a memento of our statue of equality to Professor Francisco.
Jai Srimanarayana to you all. We are very much delighted with the wonderful words of wisdom of Professor Clooney, Francis Clooney. We are really happy, Professor, with your presence here and sharing your ideas about Ramanujacharya Swami. There are great leaders across the world. We find hardly any leaders who care for the society, preserving their own tradition but respecting the rest of the traditions. Ramanujacharya was the one who followed his own tradition He respected every system of the world and he picked up whatever is good in each of the systems. He believed and followed the Vedic concepts. And then he gave a beautiful concept for the world to follow. He always was sticking on to the authority rather than individual logic. The very purpose of religion is to bridge the gap between different sections of the society. Unfortunately, today there are different religions who say that, as Professor rightly pointed out, that my religion is the religion and rest should be there on the face of the earth. But the very purpose of religion is to see that a kind of cohesive living on this earth. There is a saying, worship your own, respect all. Whatever you are, you can practice that, knowing what exactly it is. At the same time, you need to respect the systems that are prevailing in the world. You need not worship the rest, but you need to respect them all. You need not give up your own practices and your own faith. You can worship this. But ultimately, both of them should respect the society they live in. That's how the society will exist. Ramanujacharya Swami made a beautiful bridge between different thoughts of the world and gave a beautiful concept to the world. This is millennium year of Ramanujacharya Swami, who born during 1017 AD. And 2017 is going to be a great year for all people believing in the value of equality. Ramanuja is considered to be an icon of equality before God. We are all equal before God. There may be a kind of variations among ourselves, but when we look at God, we are all equal before Him, and that's what Ramanuja believed in and practiced it. In those days, there were many people who were called as untouchables, who were kept away from the society, and even people were not allowing them into the mainstreams of the society also. In such time, during such period, it was Ramanujacharya Swami who gave mantra even to such people and opened the doors of the temple for those people also, so that no one need to be deprived of having the grace of God. We call Ramanujacharya Swami as an icon of equality, a statue of equality. Actually, it's not we saying that. Even great leaders like Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda, and also the great statesmen like Ambedkar also said that Ramanuja is a great philosopher of South and who stood for equality. Keeping in view that his millennium year is now for all of us to do something to realize his grace on this world, we are trying to create a monument so that the world will remember Ramanujacharya Swami for the future eras to come. We'd like to show you the small presentation, small walkthrough as how it's going to come there. Because our professor is again to leave. So before he leaves, we love to show him how it's going to come. Are you also ready to see that? Most welcome to you all. And let us go through that. A small tour.